The wind howled across the barren landscape of Kepler 452b, a planet that had defied every expectation of habitability. Dr. Marcus Reeves squinted through the reinforced visor of his environmental suit, his breath fogging the inside of the protective gear. Another day, another seemingly endless stretch of rocky terrain that promised nothing but disappointment. "Geological scan complete," chirped Arya, his AI research assistant. "No significant anomalies detected within the current grid." Marcus sighed, his gloved hand absently brushing against the sophisticated scanning equipment mounted on his rover. 3 years of research, billions in funding, and what did they have to show for it? Just another uninhabitable rock spinning in the vast emptiness of space. The research station behind him was a marvel of human engineering, a self-sustaining habitat that could withstand extreme conditions, powered by next-generation solar and fusion technologies. It stood as a testament to human determination, a beacon of hope in a hostile environment. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the team's lead geologist, approached from the habitat's airlock. Her motion was deliberate, each step carefully calculated in the planet's slightly lower gravity. "Marcus," she called through the communication system, "we're picking up something strange on the long-range scanners." Strange was an understatement in their line of work. Marcus had learned long ago that strange could mean anything from a minor geological anomaly to a potential breakthrough that could change everything humanity understood about the universe. "Show me," he responded, turning back to the rover's comprehensive display system. The holographic interface flickered to life, revealing a peculiar energy signature approximately 12 kilometers from their current position. It didn't match any known geological or atmospheric phenomenon. The readings were impossible. "Arya," Marcus called, "run a comprehensive analysis, cross-reference with every known database." The AI's response was immediate. "Preliminary scan suggests an artificial origin. Energy signature does not correlate with natural formations. Recommendation: immediate investigation." Elena's voice crackled through the communication system. "It could be another false positive. We've had dozens of those." But Marcus knew this was different. Something about the way the energy signature pulsed, the subtle variations that seemed to defy conventional physics, it was calling to him. "Prep the rover," he said, his voice steady. "We're going to investigate." The next few hours were a testament to human endurance. The rover crawled across the rocky terrain, its advanced suspension system absorbing the brutal landscape's unpredictable contours. Marcus and Elena maintained a constant dialogue, analyzing each new piece of data as it streamed in. As they approached the coordinates, the energy signature became more pronounced. Arya's sensors began to go haywire, readings fluctuating in ways that defied current scientific understanding. "Something's interfering with our equipment," Elena muttered, her fingers flying across the rover's control panel. And then they saw it. Nestled between two massive rock formations was something that should not exist. A structure, no, more accurately, a fragment of a structure. That was clearly not a natural formation. Its surface was smooth in a way that spoke of intentional design, with geometric patterns that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. "Arya," Marcus whispered, "are you seeing this?" "Affirmative," the AI responded. "Preliminary analysis suggests extraterrestrial origin. Estimated age, approximately 3.2 million years." The implications were staggering. This was no mere archaeological find. This was a potential window into an entirely unknown civilization, a civilization that existed long before human civilization had even begun to dream of stepping beyond their own planet. Elena's hand found Marcus's shoulder. "Do you realize what this means?" Marcus nodded, his scientific mind already racing with possibilities. "We're not alone, and whatever left this behind, they were far more advanced than we ever imagined." As the twin suns of the planetary system began to set, casting long shadows across the alien landscape, Dr. Marcus Reeves understood that everything was about to change. Humanity's understanding of its place in the universe was about to be rewritten. and their journey was just beginning. The research station hummed with an electric tension that Marcus had never experienced before. What had begun as a routine exploration had transformed into something extraordinary. The artifact they discovered lay secured in the station's most advanced containment unit, a marvel of human engineering designed to study potentially dangerous extraterrestrial objects. Dr. Elena Rodriguez adjusted the holographic displays, her fingers tracing complex data patterns that seemed to dance and shift with a life of their own. Aria's processing units were working at maximum capacity, analyzing every microscopic detail of the fragment. "The material composition is unlike anything in our databases," Elena muttered, more to herself than to anyone else. "It's not just alien, it's fundamentally different from any known element in the periodic table." Marcus leaned closer to the containment unit. The artifact seemed to pulse with an inner light, its geometric patterns shifting subtly, almost imperceptibly. It was as if the object was alive or thinking. "Aria," Marcus called, "run another quantum resonance scan. I want to know everything about this object." The AI's holographic interface flickered. "Warning, quantum resonance readings are unstable. Recommend minimal interaction." Before Marcus could respond, a sharp alarm cut through the station's quiet. The containment unit's protective field began to fluctuate, sending sparks of energy dancing across its surface. "Elena, shut it down," Marcus shouted. But it was too late. A burst of energy erupted from the artifact, not destructive, but penetrating, a wave of information that seemed to wash through the entire research station. Computer systems flickered. Aria's holographic form momentarily distorted. And then silence. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. A communication signal broke through the silence, but it wasn't from their equipment. The signal was coming from somewhere else, somewhere far beyond their current location. "Incoming transmission," Aria announced, its usually calm voice tinged with something that almost sounded like excitement. "Origin unknown, attempting to decode." The holographic display erupted with a complex array of symbols, patterns that seemed to shift between mathematical equations and something resembling a language. But it was more than just a message. It was an invitation. Elena looked at Marcus, her eyes wide. "This is first contact," she whispered. The transmission continued, revealing fragments of information. Star charts, technological schematics, historical records of a civilization that predated human existence by millions of years. But there was something else, an underlying message that spoke of a conflict, a war that had never truly ended. "They're tracking us," Marcus realized. This artifact wasn't just a random discovery, it was a beacon. As if on cue, Aria's systems picked up massive energy signatures approaching their planetary system. Something was coming, something big. "Unidentified vessels detected," Aria reported. "Multiple signatures, estimated time of arrival 72 hours. The research station, once a symbol of human exploration, now felt like the eye of an impending storm. Marcus understood that everything was about to change. Humanity was about to face its first true test on the cosmic stage. Elena began preparing the station's defensive systems. Marcus studied the alien transmission, looking for any advantage they could find. Aria continued processing the massive influx of information. They were no longer just explorers. They were now the first line of defense for an entire species. The artifact continued to pulse, its geometric patterns now forming what looked like a map, or perhaps a warning. Humanity's greatest adventure was about to begin, and nobody knew if they were truly prepared for what was coming. Something ancient had awakened, and it was looking directly at Earth. The first alien vessel breached their planetary system with a silence that was more terrifying than any sound could have been. On the research station, Marcus watched the holographic display with a mixture of scientific fascination and primal fear. "They're not attacking," Elena observed, her voice tight. "They're scanning." Aria's systems worked overtime, analyzing the incoming data. Vessel configuration does not match any known galactic design. Technological complexity exceeds current human understanding by approximately 783%. Marcus gripped the edge of the control panel. The artifact they discovered seemed to pulse in resonance with the approaching vessel, its geometric patterns now moving with an almost purposeful rhythm. "Prepare emergency communication protocols," Marcus instructed. "We need to establish some form of dialogue." Elena raised an eyebrow. Dialogue? They could obliterate us with a thought. But Marcus was already working. Humanity had always been defined by its ability to adapt, to communicate, to find solutions where others saw only barriers. The artifact had shown them something profound, a glimpse of a technological potential that transcended current understanding. Suddenly, Arya's systems erupted with activity. "Incoming transmission," the AI reported. "Translation protocols engaged." The communication was unlike anything they'd experienced. It wasn't just a language. It was a complex matrix of information that seemed to bypass traditional communication methods. Images, mathematical equations, historical records, and something that felt like pure emotional context merged into a single transmission. The message was clear. Humanity was an anomaly, a species that didn't fit into the established cosmic order. "They're trying to categorize us," Marcus realized, "but they can't." The alien vessel began to deploy smaller probes. Each one was a marvel of engineering, microscopic machines that could potentially disassemble entire planetary structures. But something was different. The probes moved with a hesitation that seemed almost curious. Elena noticed it first. "They're studying us, not attacking, studying." Arya's analysis confirmed her observation. Probe behavior suggests active learning protocols. They are attempting to understand rather than eliminate. Marcus remembered the artifact's hidden message, a hint of an ancient conflict that had never truly resolved. These beings weren't just explorers. They were survivors of a war that had reshaped entire galaxies. A secondary transmission began. This one was different. It carried technical specifications that made human quantum computing look like an abacus. Blueprints for technologies that could reshape matter at its most fundamental level. But woven through these specifications was something else, a challenge. "They're testing us," Marcus whispered. The station's defensive systems, which Elena had meticulously prepared, hummed with potential. But Marcus knew brute force wasn't the answer. Humanity's strength had never been in raw power, but in adaptability, creativity, and an unbreakable spirit of innovation. "Arya," Marcus called, "begin constructive response protocol. Show them our scientific achievements, our art, our ability to overcome." The AI began transmitting, not just data, but the essence of human experience. The moon landing, the decoding of the human genome, musical compositions, mathematical breakthroughs, moments of individual and collective triumph. The alien probes paused. For a moment, everything stopped. Then something unprecedented happened. The probes began to reconfigure, not as a weapon, not as a threat, but as a form of communication. They were listening. Marcus looked at Elena, a spark of hope in his eyes. "We might just have a chance." The artifact continued to pulse, as if witnessing a moment that would change the course of human history forever. Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the balance of power was shifting, and humanity was at the center of it all. The real conversation was just beginning. 12 hours after the initial contact, the research station had transformed into something between a scientific laboratory and a strategic command center. The alien probes continued their intricate dance around the planet, each movement a complex negotiation of understanding. "They're testing our boundaries," Marcus muttered, studying the holographic displays that now covered every available surface. The artifact, their original discovery, had become the centerpiece of their communication strategy. Elena Rodriguez worked furiously at a secondary console, interfacing between Arya's advanced systems and the rudimentary communication protocols they'd managed to establish. "It's like they're trying to solve a puzzle," she said, her fingers dancing across quantum-encrypted interfaces. "And we're the puzzle." Arya's holographic form flickered, processing billions of data points per second. Probability of hostile engagement, 37.6% and declining. Current interaction suggests diplomatic reconnaissance. A new transmission began to take shape, not in words, but in a complex matrix of mathematical equations and technological schematics. The aliens were sharing something profound, the history of a galactic conflict that had nearly destroyed multiple civilizations. Marcus leaned closer. The transmission revealed fragments of a war so vast it had reshaped entire star systems. Civilizations had risen and fallen, entire species reduced to cosmic dust. And at the center of it all, a technology so advanced it bordered on the metaphysical. "They're showing us why they're here," Alina realized. "This isn't just a first contact, it's a recruitment." The artifact pulsed in response, its geometric patterns aligning with the incoming transmission. Marcus understood then that their discovery was more than just a random find. It was a key, a bridge between humanity and something far greater. Suddenly, Arya's systems went into overdrive. Incoming threat detected, multiple high-energy signatures emerging from quantum slip space. The holographic display exploded with new information. Another faction had entered the system, something the initial alien visitors clearly hadn't anticipated. These new arrivals carried an energy signature that made the previous visitors look primitive by comparison. "They're hunting something," Marcus said, his voice barely a whisper, "and I think that something is us." The research station's defensive systems, which Alina had meticulously designed, began to activate. But Marcus knew traditional weapons would be useless against technology this advanced. "Arya," he called, "activate the artifact interface, full quantum resonance." The artifact began to transform. Its geometric patterns shifted, becoming something between a technological marvel and a living entity. The probes from the first alien visitors began to align, creating a protective network around the research station. Alina looked at Marcus, understanding dawning in her eyes. "We're not just passengers in this conflict," she said. "We're the key." The incoming threat grew closer. Space itself seemed to bend and warp around the approaching vessels. They were beautiful in a terrifying way, structures that defied traditional physics, moving with a grace that suggested they were more than mere machines. "Transmission incoming," Arya reported. "Decryption impossible, threat level maximum." Marcus placed his hand on the artifact. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. The artifact's energy began to resonate with human technology, with Arya's systems, with the very essence of human potential. The first alien visitors, now clearly allies, began to form a defensive formation. But it was the humans who would make the critical move. "We're not going to hide," Marcus said, his voice steady. "We're going to fight." The universe held its breath. Humanity was about to show its true potential. And nothing would ever be the same again. The space around Kepler 452b had become a canvas of impossible geometries and energy patterns that defied conventional physics. What had begun as a scientific expedition had transformed into humanity's first true test on the galactic stage. Marcus watched in awe as the artifact continued to interface with the alien technology. It was no longer just an object. It had become a living bridge between human potential and cosmic intelligence. The incoming threat grew closer, its approach marked by distortions in spacetime that made reality itself seem fragile. "Communication matrix stabilizing," Arya reported, its holographic form flickering with unprecedented complexity. "Threat vessels exhibiting nonlinear approach vectors." Alina's fingers flew across the quantum interface, her scientific mind racing to comprehend the unfolding scenario. "They're not just approaching," she muttered. "They're probing, testing." The first alien visitors, now clearly positioned as potential allies, began to create a complex defensive formation around the research station. But Marcus understood that defense wasn't going to be enough. Humanity's strength had never been in pure defensive capabilities, but in its ability to adapt, to communicate, to find solutions where others saw only conflict. "Aria," Marcus called. "Prepare full-spectrum communication protocol. We're going to talk to them." The communication that followed was unlike anything in human history. It wasn't a traditional dialogue of words or even mathematical equations. It was a multidimensional exchange of intent, history, and potential. Fragments of cosmic conflicts spanning millions of years began to coalesce into a comprehensible narrative. The incoming threat was part of an ancient system, a cosmic regulatory mechanism designed to prevent the rise of potentially disruptive civilizations. Humanity, with its unpredictable nature and rapid technological progression, had triggered their attention. "They see us as a variable," Elena realized, "an unknown that needs to be controlled." The artifact pulsed in response, its geometric patterns now moving with a purpose that seemed almost sentient. Marcus realized they were witnessing something profound, a negotiation that transcended traditional concepts of diplomacy. Suddenly, the space around them transformed. The threat vessels began to reconfigure, their impossible geometries shifting into something more communicative. It was as if the very fabric of space was becoming a medium of dialogue. "Incoming transmission," Arya announced. "Warning, communication method beyond current comprehension." A wave of information washed over the research station. It wasn't an attack, it was an assessment. Humanity was being evaluated not just as a species, but as a potential cosmic entity. Marcus understood then that this was more than first contact. This was a trial. The alien visitors who had first approached now moved into a supportive formation. Their technology interfaced with the artifact, creating a complex web of energy that seemed to stabilize the increasingly unstable space around them. "They're vouching for us," Elena whispered, her voice a mixture of scientific excitement and primal wonder. The threat vessels began to slow. Their approach became more measured, more analytical. They were listening, truly listening. Marcus stepped forward, placing his hand on the artifact. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. The artifact began to project humanity's story, not just its technological achievements, but its emotional landscape. The moon landing, the eradication of diseases, acts of individual and collective courage, moments of profound creativity and compassion. The cosmic regulators paused. For the first time in millions of years, something had given them pause. "Negotiation protocols initiated," Arya reported. "Probability of peaceful resolution increasing." The universe held its breath. Humanity had just begun to write its most important chapter. And nothing would ever be the same again. 72 hours after the initial contact, the research station on Kepler 452b had become something more than a scientific outpost. It was now a beacon of human potential, a bridge between humanity and the vast, incomprehensible cosmos. The artifact, no longer just an object of study, but a living interface between human technology and cosmic intelligence, pulsed with an energy that seemed to breathe. Marcus Reeves stood at the center of a transformation that would redefine humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. "Negotiation complete," Arya announced, its holographic form stabilizing into something more defined than ever before. "Consensus reached." Elena Rodriguez approached, her eyes reflecting a mixture of scientific triumph and profound wonder. "We're not just survivors," she said softly. "We're participants." The cosmic regulators, those ancient arbiters of galactic development, had made their decision. Humanity would not be contained, would not be controlled. Instead, they would be observed, studied, potentially integrated. The space around Kepler 452b had become a canvas of impossible geometries. The threat vessels that had once seemed poised to destroy now hung in a delicate dance of observation. The first alien visitors, now clearly allies, had formed a protective network that extended far beyond traditional concepts of defense. Marcus understood the true nature of their victory. It wasn't about technological superiority or military might. It was about potential, about the uniquely human capacity to adapt, to communicate, to find meaning in the most impossible circumstances. "They want to understand us," he said, watching the holographic displays that now covered every surface of the research station. Not control us. The artifact began to transform. Its geometric patterns shifted, revealing layers of information that suggested a history far more complex than anyone had imagined. Fragments of cosmic conflicts, technological marvels, and evolutionary pathways danced across its surface. Arya's systems worked overtime, processing information at a rate that would have been impossible just days ago. Incoming data suggests multiple potential futures, the AI reported. Humanity's trajectory is unprecedented. Elena looked at Marcus, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "We're not just going to explore the universe," she said. "We're going to change it." The cosmic regulators had presented a choice. Not a threat, not a limitation, but a challenge. Humanity could remain confined to its small corner of the galaxy, or it could step into something greater. Marcus placed his hand on the artifact. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. The collective potential of human imagination, every dream, every aspiration, every moment of creativity, seemed to resonate through the cosmic interface. "We choose to advance," Marcus said quietly. The universe responded. Space itself seemed to shift. The threat vessels began to reconfigure, no longer as potential destroyers, but as something else, observers, potential guides. The first step in a journey that would span galaxies. "Transmission incoming," Arya announced. "Final integration protocols." This was more than first contact. This was an invitation. Humanity had always been defined by its ability to look up at the stars and wonder, to dream, to push beyond known boundaries. Now, those boundaries were about to disappear. "Prepare for departure," Marcus said, his voice steady. "We're going home, and we're bringing something back with us." The artifact pulsed. The stars seemed to hold their breath. A new chapter was beginning.